She succeeded her husband on this day. This wasn't and still isn't a monarchy. Can you guess who this is? Can you guess what country this was? Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sotonye Afiesima. For those of you who have subscribed, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for dropping by once again. If you're a returning visitor, thank you. Thank you for your visit. Why not subscribe so that you receive updates of my video uploads? It'll help me, reach out to more people as well. If you're here for the first time, welcome to my channel. Here I share important events that have occurred in history. Obviously, you know that positive and negative events have happened throughout history. I'm hoping that the negative events will provide us something that we can learn from so that we know what to do when we see events unfolding that will impact our world and will impact our future. So we know what to do. We know how to avert disaster, avert war, avert trouble in future, because we can recognize the makings of an event as they are occurring, because we have been able to go back into history to read or hear about those events and say, right, this thing happened 50 years ago, or 500 years ago, or even 5,000 years ago. What can we do now to avert disaster? Okay, so on that note, let's get cracking with today in history. On this day in 1768, the Encyclopædia Britannica made its debut, and it came in 3 volumes, just like this one. So this is a reprint, and it was made available to the public by subscription. So interestingly, it made its debut in Edinburgh, which is a Scottish city. For those of you who don't know much about the United Kingdom, Scotland is one of the countries that make up the 4 kingdoms of the United Kingdom. So we've got Northern Ireland, Wales, and England. Now, the Scottish have their own language, which is Gaelic. So now for this English language publication to make its debut in Edinburgh, it's quite telling, quite interesting, So anyway, that's history as it happened today. The Encyclopædia Britannica, the first edition of the Encyclopædia Britannica, was published on this day in 1768. In 1815, Ada Lovelace was born. Pictured here in this artwork, she was an English mathematician called the first computer programmer. I bet you guys didn't think that the first computer programmer would be a woman, but there she is, Ada Lovelace, born on this day in 1815. Hopefully we're learning from history. 1851, Melvil Dewey, pictured here. Who was he? American librarian. He devised the Dewey Decimal Classification for library cataloging and was largely responsible for the development of library science in the United States. So this is Melvil Dewey. For those of you who have been to university or college, as it's called in the United States, you'd have heard of the Dewey Decimal System. Well, this was the brains behind the Dewey Decimal System. Again, his name is Melvil Dewey, who devised the Dewey Decimal Classification, born on this day in 1851. So it seems to be all about libraries and books today. Let's move on to the year 1909. This lady is called, as you can see from the coin, Selma Lagerlöf. She was a Swedish author and became the first woman to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature, cited for the lofty idealism, vivid imagination, and spiritual perception that characterize her writings. So again, Selma Lagerlöf, who was the first woman to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature. So, okay, let's move on now to the year 1924. On this day, Michael Manley, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, was born. So 1924, on this day, Michael Manley was born. So this is a biography by Geoffrey Smith. Go check it out if you want to find out more about Michael Manley, former Prime Minister of Jamaica. In 1948, on this day, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. As you can see in this picture here, I, as usual, will read all these out. Guys have to bear with me because not everyone who watches this would be able to see, probably just be able to hear. So I'm going to read it out for their benefit. So bear with me, guys. So it says here, United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted December 10th, 1948. Number one, the 30 here. Number one says, we are all born free and equal. Number two, everyone has rights despite differences. Number three, all have the right to live and live in safety. Number four, no one may enslave you. Number five, no one may torture you. Number six, you have rights no matter where you travel. Number seven, all are equal before the law. Number eight, human rights are protected by law. Number nine, no one should be unfairly detained. Number 10, all have a right to a fair trial. Number 11, all accused are innocent until proven guilty. Number 12, all have a right to privacy. 13, all have the right to move freely. 14, all may enjoy asylum from persecution. 15, all have a right to nationality. 16, all may marry and establish families. 17, all may own property. 18, all may think freely, including religion. 19, all may freely express opinions. 20, all may assemble peacefully. 21, all may participate in governing. 22, all have rights to dignity and social protections. 23, all have free choices of employment. 24, all have rights to rest and leisure. 25, all have the right to an adequate standard of living. 26, all have a right to education. 27, all have rights to intellectual property. 28, all have the right to a world that enables and protects rights. 29, all rights have responsibilities and can only be limited when infringing on others' rights. 30, no one can take away your human rights. That sums it up, guys. So now you know your rights, just in case you didn't prior to this. So again, on this day in 1948, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted. In 1962, this guy, British historical film, and the guy who is pictured here is Peter O'Toole as T.E. Lawrence from the film Lawrence of Arabia. It was directed by David Lean and had its world premiere on this day in 1962. It became one of the most celebrated epics in the history of cinema. So that's Lawrence of Arabia film, made its debut in 1962, a British historical film. Starred Peter O'Toole as T.E. Lawrence. 1971, on this day, Dr. Ralph Johnson Bunch died. Born on the 7th of August 1903, he was an American politician, scientist, diplomat who received the 1950 Nobel Prize for his late 1940s mediation in Palestine. He was the first person of color to be so honored in the history of the prize. So, in the history of the Nobel Prize, the first man of color to be honored with the Nobel Peace Prize. He died on this day in 1971. 1957, born on this day, author Michael Clarke Duncan, pictured right here. Who is Michael Clarke Duncan? Was born in Illinois, he is most well remembered for his breakout role as John Coffey in The Green Mile, a role which netted him an Academy Award nomination and a Golden Globe nomination. He can be seen in a number of films including Friday, The Whole Nine Yards, The Scorpion King, Sin City, and The Island. So this is actor Michael Clarke Duncan, born on this day in Chicago, Illinois, and also a vegetarian. 1984, Bishop Desmond Tutu receives the Nobel Peace Prize. Bishop Desmond Tutu receives the Nobel Peace Prize on this day in 1984. In 1985, this lady here, sure you can guess her name, Raven-Symoné, born Raven-Symoné Christina Pearman in Atlanta, Georgia. She's an American actress, most well known for her parts in The Cosby Show and That's So Raven, which is pictured right here. So she was born on this day in 1985. Last but not least, Argentine politician Christina Fernandez de Kirchner, pictured here. Yes, I did give you the clue at the beginning. She was elected president of Argentina on this day. And yes, you guessed right, her predecessor was her husband, Nestor Kirchner. So again, Argentine politician Christina Fernandez de Kirchner was sworn into office as Argentina's first female elected president. On that note, we have come to the end of today's Today in History. Thanks for dropping by, guys. Thanks for your support. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I shall see you tomorrow, December 11th, for another edition of Today in History. Thanks, guys. Stay safe. Bye-bye.